Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we are going over my top 5 future premium ships. And this is a series I used to do a bit back in the day, but it's been a while since we've gone over one of these lists. These are 5 ships that I think would be excellent candidates to be turned into premium ships in this game. Most of these are real still historical ships. If they're not real still ships, they were real plans that were put forth but were rejected for one reason or another. And if you do like historical ships, I suggest you should check out yesterday's video. Yesterday's video was a bit of a departure from what I normally upload to the channel. We took a look at the Iowa turret explosion of 1989. If you like your military and naval history, or even conspiracy theories and how should I say cover-ups and things like that, I think you'll find that video most interesting. A lot of work was put into it from myself and others that helped me out with that. So if you do like that type of thing, I would encourage you guys to check that out. But anyway, again, these are pure speculations. These ships, to my knowledge, have not been announced at all. So if they come out and announce these next week, I'll be pretty excited. If they do that, they'll also probably be pretty crazy, but who knows. Wargaming doesn't really listen to me anyway. But yeah, if you're listening, Wargaming, feel free to take any of these designs and do with them what you will. So again, pure speculation, all for fun. Let's go ahead and start with number 5, which is the USS Tennessee. So the Tennessee class is in game as the California, and I was pretty excited when we got the California. But the California it's a pretty good gun platform, but it's slow, it's large, it's easily farmable, and it's more of a mid to long range sniper. But the Tennessee, in my eyes, would be more of a side grade to the upcoming West Virginia 44. An alternative to it, I should say. Now, the West Virginia 44, as of its announcement, is going to be more of a brawler. She's going to have the American secondary gun. She's going to be more tooled for that. Now, the Tennessee would essentially be the same, except at Tier 6. Why? Because the Tennessee is equipped with 14-inch guns. Now, I would propose giving these 14-inch guns the same accuracy as the New Mexico guns. And if you play the New Mexico, you know it's not exactly an accurate ship. And yes, 14-inch guns, 12 of them, does hurt quite a bit if you manage to catch a good handful of them to your broadside, but the New Mexico isn't exactly an accurate ship. And this would, of course, lean towards the Tennessee being more of a secondary focused ship. I would propose, given the secondary guns, good range for Tier 6 would be about 8, 9, maybe even 10 kilometers, because the ship is a very slow battleship, even by Tier 6 standards. This is back when the U.S. Navy was still just lockstep with the traditional dreadnought, super dreadnought design, where you go 20 knots, that's it. Now, of course, I would adjust the armor levels to be about the standard for Tier 6 battleships, which means with a ship of this size, it would be fairly squishy. But I would also say give it the Massachusetts heal, but one less charge. That way you have a very good heal with a very quick cooldown time, which would lend itself very well to, being that Doom Turtle, and being the ship on the flank to push, tank a lot of damage, and be able to take a lot of damage in a good solid push. But at the same time, too, you don't have the full charges of heals, so you can't just, keep pounding those heals throughout the match and keep throwing away your health willy-nilly. You gotta be smart, angle, have teammates to push up with you, and I think this would be a pretty fun ship, and a ship that looks really cool. I do like the way that the California looks in game. It's this, pre-World War II dreadnought design, but then it got modernized. It's got the modern superstructure, the modern 127mm turrets on it. It looks just crazy, in my opinion. I would love to see one of these as a brawler, which, again, with the way West Virginia 44 is going, we might see more and more of these Pearl Harbor ships come back to their glory in some way, shape, or another. But I think this would be an excellent and fun ship, especially at Tier 6, where the matchmaking isn't as shafted as it is at higher tiers. So yes, that's the first one there, the Tennessee. Moving on down to number 4, we have the USS Lexington, the OG 1920s Lexington battle cruiser. Now, of course, they could choose one of the other names for this, but I would think that having this name for the original design would be appropriate, even though we only have the Lexington in game. But I mean, hey, look, we have like 6 ships named after lions. All right, so I think we could get away with this. If not, there's plenty of names to choose from. So I'm talking about having the OG 1920s battlecruiser design, not the Constellation that has the radars, the torpedo bulges, the modern superstructure, the torpedoes, none of that. I'm just talking about the OG design. Now, it would have the same gun parameters as the Constellation, but this would be down at Tier 7. Why Tier 7? Well, because you don't have those giant torpedo bulges on the side. Those were things that were added after Pearl Harbor, according to, of course, Wargaming's fictional refit. So you wouldn't have those there to kind of act as spaced armor from shells getting to your citadel. And that's, you know, it's not like the Constellation was is a terribly tanky ship either. So, of course, you'd be eating more damage. And I would also borrow an idea from the Tennessee as well. You would give this ship the Massachusetts heel. Again, that good heel with a quick cooldown time to where, again, if you're playing the ship like a battle cruiser, you know, just going full tilt, running around, basically playing it like a large cruiser and not picking, you know, one-on-one fights with battleships that can vibe check you. You can stick in the action and stick it out. And if you need to push, you do have the Massachusetts heel to do that. But I would also give it one more charge. Now, I'm not saying give it like, you know, 6 with the commander skill. I'm talking about giving it 5 with the commander skill, because the Constellation doesn't get an additional the full charges of heals like every single other battleship does. It gets 1 less, but with the Lexington you would have 5 with the commander skill. So you would have the ability to, you know, play it like a large cruiser, be able to eat the I won't say vibe checky salvo. You would have the ability to make small mistakes but still get away with it. But again, it's not like the Constellation. It's not like we're starting from a fantastically well armored ship. The ship's already quite squishy, and we're taking away the thing that kind of helps it from getting absolutely wrecked every time. And with those torpedo bulges gone, with your citadel being pretty much exposed, yeah, if you slip up and you show broadside, you're going to eat dirt. So that's something you'd have to look out for with the Lexington. And of course, again, no radar, Tier 7, so you would still be getting in Tier 10 games, and you would still have to, of course, play very, very carefully either way with the ship's armor scheme. Now, this is a ship that I would very much like to see in game, because it was very cool that we got the Constellation in Wargaming's own fictional refit. Like, that's cool. I like seeing the Lexington class battlecruiser in game, but I think myself and others would very much like to see the original design, the original 1920s battlecruiser design in game. And with the advent of all these battlecruisers lines that we've been getting, you know, Tech Tree and other premium battlecruisers, Wargaming seems to have really gotten the formula down very well. These battlecruiser lines have been some of the best new lines in the game, in my opinion. So I think it'd be very cool for them to come back to the Constellation and kind of fix their mistakes with the Constellation, because the Constellation isn't really that great of a premium, in my opinion, like I've said here before on the channel, and get us a more, you know, original, more just simple, this is what the Navy planned to make, here it is in game, have fun with it. I think it'd be a treat. And plus, it'd be at Tier 7 with 16-inch gun, so you would have the ability to overmatch the common armor thresholds at that tier, and that would help make up for its, well, absolutely terrible survivability, of course. Alright, going down to number 3, we have the USS Kentucky. Yes, I'm on a bit of a theme this week, if you haven't been able to catch on. So, this is an Iowa class, yes. But I'm talking about doing the quite heretical act of giving this Kentucky the carrier conversion plan. Now, yes, hybrids are in the game. Yes, I'm saying I'd like to see another hybrid. But look, unlike the American hybrid battleships that we got, this was an actual plan put forth to convert the Iowa class into battleship, battle carrier hybrids. Now, of course, again, hybrids, I know a lot of players don't like them, but look, we have crossed the Rubicon at this point with hybrids. They're not going away. But this would be, in my opinion, a much more balanced hybrid. Why? Well, for starters, you would keep the same accuracy on the 2 turrets in the front, which means that you're missing 3 guns. So the American battleships, they do have pretty good dispersion when you do have the special American battleship dispersion module on them. But you're also getting the benefit of having 9 guns with a decent reload time. You'd be chopping that down to 6 guns with that same 30-second reload time, and 6 16-inch guns at Tier 9. So, not quite the powerhouse and firepower there. Now, you would get planes, of course, but not the crazy bombers that you get with the American hybrids. I would rather the ship be equipped with torpedo planes. Why? Torpedo planes take a bit more skill to use than these bombers that they give you on the American Hybrid Tech line. The bombers in the American Hybrid Tech line, at the time of recording of this video, the reticle is super small. They're HE bombers. They have great pins, great fire starting chances, so they're not really difficult to use. I can use them and still have great games in the things quite easily. Torpedo planes take a bit more skill. You gotta lead the target, you gotta make sure you drop the torpedoes at the right time, and of course the enemy player, they have a lot better of a chance to dodge these torpedo planes than the dive bombers. So it's a bit more fair there. And of course, you will still have the 2-minute cooldown time before you have these torpedo planes. And you only get 1 squadron. So you can't cross-torp like a normal carrier could, where they could drop 1 set of torps, they get you to, turn and bleed speed, and now they pretty much can circle back around and have their way with you if you're in a larger ship. So, with only 1 set of torpedo planes, and I'm talking about 3 planes, maybe 4 at max. But I'd lean more towards just 3. Because these planes, if they want to go historically accurate with the design time, this is the only issue I have with my own design, is that they'd have to be like F4s, because this plane was put forth in the 70s. You could, tool that back and say, oh, we're going to go with a 1960s version of this plan, because, what if? Okay. But it'd still be like early F4s, so yeah, I mean, you just slap some jets on it from like the USS United States, because I mean the Graf Zeppelin is supposed to have Stukas, but it doesn't. So Wargaming doesn't seem to really care too much. So you could slap some 50s jet fighters on it, or jet torpedo bombers on it, and just call it a day. But if you want to stay historically accurate, they would be F4. So naturally they'd be stupidly fast, because F4 is an amazing aircraft. So yeah, but I mean, that could also be the trade-off too, that they're fast, but you only get 3 of them, and they're still torpedoes, so you still gotta, of course, give the ship the proper lead. So that's my proposal for the Kentucky. So I know a lot of you want to stab me now, but trust me, the next one's going to make you want to, commit other crimes against me, because number 2 is the Surcouf, the French submarine cruiser. This thing is pretty kooky. Again, hear me out. Put your pitchforks away and your improvised explosive devices. So, Tier 8, alright? Tier 8 submarine. Give it the I-56 treatment. But, to the next level. And what I mean by the I-56 treatment. So, the I-56 is what Wargaming calls a cruiser submarine. It's a large submarine that has a deck-mounted gun. It's got torpedo tubes that have terrible homing torpedoes, but a pretty solid set of dummy guided torpedoes. And the Surcouf is this insane design, and it is literally a cruiser submarine. It has a cruiser turret on it. It's got 1 turret with 2 8-inch guns, and it does have a hangar. We're getting to that. So what I would say is, of course, this thing was massive in real life, so it would have to be something along the I-56. But don't even give it homing torpedoes, because you got an 8-inch turret, and you're going to have, of course, dummy-guided torpedoes. You don't need homing torpedoes at that point. Alright. So, it's a big submarine, large HP pool, and, of course, since it is a big submarine, it's a big target, and since it would be getting the I-56 treatment, I would also say, of course, make it stupidly slow underwater. So, yeah. In order to offset that, you could do 1 of 2 things. Either give it the French DD saturation, or a simple 2 charge heal. So you get 2 heal charges, and then that's it. Nothing else after that. Because again, it's a huge target, guys. Trust me, you're not going to have problems dropping your depth charges on this thing. Now, the plane. It did have a hangar. It did carry a spotting aircraft. Sure, give it a fighter or a spotter, but the second you go underwater, it recalls the plane. And plus, give it a very long dive time because this thing's a big submarine. And as well, with the turret, I would say there would have to be at least like a 5 or 6 or 7 second delay on surfacing of the turret being manageable. Of course, in real life, it took quite some time to get the turret up and running once the ship had surfaced, so you would have to reflect that in game. So it's not like you just surface right next to a ship, blast them real quick, then submerge in a handful of seconds. You'd have to at least take some time at the surface as well. But I would envision this thing as being a bit of an ambush submarine because, of course, suddenly having a ship right next to you that has 203mm guns is quite spooky. You could give it like AP only with the very lovely French AP. So you could kind of play it as, okay, I'm going to try and ambush this cruiser, pop up next to him, give myself enough time to where my turret can get manned and ready to go, pump a couple rounds of AP into his broadside, and then submerge and run away. I think that would be a pretty fun playstyle, a very challenging playstyle, and a playstyle that would, of course, reward your skill, and, of course, not having any homing torpedoes, all you got is dummy fire torpedoes, so again, rewarding skill rather than your ability to just spam a target with your sonar ping. I think it could be done quite well. It's a real still ship, and if we've already crossed the Rubicon with submarines. They're in the game. We're getting like 3 lines this year of the suckers, so they're not going anywhere. I mean, if we're going to commit wargaming, let's just go into the asylum together, my friend. Alright, coming in at number 1 is a ship that is long overdue to be in this game, and I guess wargaming doesn't like money because most definitely a future premium ship needs to be the USS Johnston, the legendary destroyer that charged the Yamato at the Battle off Samar. If you haven't seen our Taffy 3 video, we did a recreation of that battle, and man, what a fighting ship the Johnston was. So Johnston Wargaming, I'm going to lay out for you here really simple. Move to tier 10 and give it a heal. Give it a super heal like the Nustra. If you guys don't know, the Johnston, it should be considered a battleship in my opinion for what that ship did. It charged the Yami alright. A battleship, largest battleship ever built with 18-inch guns. A single turret from the Yamato weighed more than all of Johnston, alright? It charged that ship, and it took a lot of damage, and she kept in the fight. And thanks a large part to her commander, which was Ernest E. Evans. And speaking of Commander Evans here, he needs to be a unique commander that's included with the Johnston. So, with the Johnston, again, Fletcher, move to tier 10. Maybe give it a bit of a buff to its reload time because it is, a Fletcher being bumped up to tier 10. And with the super heal, I think, that'll do it well in terms of, honoring what the ship did, the damage that it took, and its ability to still stay in the fight. And Evans, for his improved skills, I would give him something like improve adrenaline rush and preventive maintenance, and maybe some skills akin to like Lucian's, or after 100 or so shell hits, you get a buff to your reload time. Maybe after so many torpedo hits, you get an improvement to your flooding chance, or a buff to your torpedo tubes reload time. There's a lot you could do with Evans there, in my opinion. And you put these two in a bundle, throw it in the armory for coal, or if you want to be super greedy wargaming, put it in the premium shop, and there. I just got done providing you with the formula to get all of your Christmas bonuses for the next 10 years. There. People will buy it, myself one of them, because the Johnston is certainly a ship that deserves to be in this game and is beyond long overdue, in my opinion. So, there you have it, guys. That's my top 5 future premium ships list. Let me know in the comments down below where you agree, where you disagree, and also include any ships you would like to see added to the game as premium ships in the list down below and what you think should be done with them. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a wonderful Monday. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.